Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the broadcast. Well, in today's report, I've got something rather intriguing and quite frankly chilling to the very core to share with you in today's broadcast. And it revolves around the fact that there is this scientist or physics professor. He goes by the name Richard A. Moeller, who wrote an article on Wall Street Journal. And this particular article surrounds the idea of what could potentially happen in World War III. And he contends with the fact that, well, in World War III, it's likely not going to be fought the normal way, but it could be fought with viruses. For example, a two-front biological and cyber attack, and a covert kind of attack. Now, what makes this even more interesting, and I want you to hang with me here, and Dan Bongino caught this part, so hat tip to Dan Bongino. But before he wrote that article, he actually met with one of the leading Communist Party defectors. We're talking about a high-up defector. And Richard Moeller met with this CCP defector. And then after that meeting, sometime after that meeting, he put together this article. One has to ask the question, what on earth was discussed between those two? We don't know. But could it have anything to do with the article that he wrote? Which leads me to the question: does the mainstream media or the United States of America, our government, do they know something about a potential war with Russia or China that they're not telling us about? Are they quietly preparing behind the scenes as well? And this is a real question that I honestly have, and one that we need to look into. But as a quick reminder, please make sure you are still subscribed to that channel. Make sure you click that red subscribe button. And by the way, if you are subbed, please make sure you have that all button checked. Otherwise, they will not send notifications to you. It's kind of pointless. But make sure you go up and click that all button and check your subscription as well if you are subscribed. With that, because of all the censorship that has been happening, and because of the limited things and all the restrictions here on YouTube and social media platforms, I created restrictedrepublic.com with Justice Knight. Please go there, subscribe. We're going to be doing a bombshell live stream this Thursday at 5 p.m. Mountain Time, and we're going to discuss some of those conspiracy things that you're going to want to hear about. But get to restrictedrepublic.com and use that coupon code Lisa and the number 5 to get it for $5 per month. All right, so let's dive in to this information. And let's start first with the Red State article showing this covert meeting between Richard A. Moeller and the Communist Party defector, right? Because I think we have to hit that first to hit the second article. But here it is, redstate.com, and it's headlined, CCP counter-intel defector Dong Jingwei is still in the United States, debriefing continues. And you can see this is a very recent article published June 30th, 2023. Now, I want to show you first who this Dong Jingwei character is, to show you kind of his background before I show you where the actual meeting is. And here's what it says in that Red State article to kind of give you his backdrop there. Dong's defection was especially significant because of his rank within the Chinese Communist Party and because of the type, direct knowledge of Chinese military bioweapons program and quantity, terabytes of data, of information he reportedly brought with him when he defected to the DIA officials in the spring of 2021. So you can see this is a very high up Communist Party defector, right? And here's where it states that he had a meeting with scientists, 2 scientists to be exact. It says those scientists, according to the DIA sources, were Dr. Stephen Quay and physics professor Richard Moeller, who published their findings in the Wall Street Journal 2 days after Red State's original story about Dong's defection. So Dong and Richard met together, had some kind of discussion. I have no idea what was discussed. They really don't tell you too much in that article, but there could have been, who knows what kind of discussion. But After that meeting, this Wall Street Journal article pops up that was written by Richard A. Mueller, the same guy who met with the CCP defector. And here is that article. And this is the one that really gives me chills to the core. And here it is. World War III will be fought with viruses. And he says a two-front biological and cyber attack could lead the U.S. defeat before we even know what hit us. And this was written on July 6, 2023. So this could, I don't know, could Richard and Dong's conversation involved something like this? Well, I may never know, but we do know this is what he wrote. But he goes on to state this. Vladimir Putin's losses in Ukraine and the rebellion of the Wagner Group have increased the chances that the Russian president will lash out and expand the 17-month-old conflict. But World War III may not be what you expect. The current paradigm of escalating nuclear conflict was articulated 60 years ago by a physicist, Herman Kahn, founder of the Hudson Institute. But other technologies have come a long way since then. Conventional guns, bombs, missiles, or troops may not figure in World War III at all. Biological and computer viruses are likely to be the weapon of choice. Then he goes on to talk about how they could deploy something like this. And it goes on and it says, COVID wasn't a deliberate attack, but it quickly and successfully damaged the American economy. Any nation thinking of using a deadly virus as a weapon of war would first need to immunize its own people, perhaps under the guise of a flu vaccine. Long-term population level immunity would require the virus to be sufficiently optimized before release to reduce the probability of further mutation. Now, then this again is his opinion on how they could attack it, right? But it goes on. For a covert attack to be successful, the virus would need to be released not in the country of origin, but in the targeted country, perhaps near a biofacility, so the world would falsely conclude it came from a leak from whatever said biofacility. So he's saying this is how they could do it, right? This could potentially be how it happens. And he says, to make it covert, you have to release it in another country, not your country, by a biolab. And by the way, you have to inoculate your population against said virus, right? This is something that they could do covertly, right? But he goes on to talk about the second prong of attack, right? And he says this: the second thrust of any aggression might be a cyber attack on the hospitals, perhaps described as ransomware. Again, the trick would be to make it seem as if the attack were originating outside of the aggressor's country. The targeted country might not even recognize it as part of a two-front synergistic attack of biological and computer viruses. Ransomware could simultaneously target your grids, your plants, your factories, refineries, trains, airlines, shipping, banking, water supplies, sewer treatment plants, and more. But the hospitals would be the most salient targets. And that's kind of where he goes. He says biological and cyber viruses have been, in a sense, field tested. The great value to the attacker of a two-pronged biological and cyber attack is the possibility of achieving destructive goals while keeping the whole operation covert. And then he concludes with the fact that he thinks America needs to prepare for such a thing. There are many reasons why an adversary may want to launch a covert attack on the U.S. economy. American leaders need to take serious the prospect that their country could be defeated without even being invaded or even knowing it was under attack. Now, I agree with the end of that. We need to actually have something in place if that were to happen. But what he's saying in this report is he's saying a new kind of World War III attack via potentially biological and then cyber, and we may or may not even know what hit us. There's no need for the nuclear or any of that anymore because this could severely attack our system. And again, we would really wouldn't know how to attribute it and fill in the blank. It's terrifying. That's why I ask, does our United States government know a little more about the potentials of war? Which is one of the reasons, by the way, I tell everyone to get prepared and why I have sponsors such as, preparewithlisa.com and why I encourage all of that. But that aside, what's interesting is to add topping, an icing to the cake, more wood to the fire, whatever slogan you want to use. what's even more terrifying is our U.S. government emails were hacked, right? Take a look here. This is also on the Wall Street Journal. U.S. government emails hacked in suspected Chinese espionage campaign. Hack is seen as part of a suspected cyber espionage campaign to access data in sensitive computer networks, which included, by the way, government agencies. Hackers linked to China breached email accounts at more than 24 organizations, including some United States government agencies, officials, and Microsoft researchers said. This is, who knows what government agencies? They don't particularly tell you. But the question is, what information did they manage to hack? So all of this together, a defactor from the CCP speaking to scientists who then go on to publish an article about the potential threats of war. And then we have hackers. I mean, I'll leave you to form your own opinion on kind of what's going on. But I think there's a lot more to the story. Anyhow, please get on over, get to restrictedrepublic.com. We're going to be doing a live Q&A. You're not going to want to miss it. And we talk about those things that you absolutely need to hear that have been just suppressed at every level. So get to restrictedrepublic.com, use that coupon code LISA5, and take advantage of a really special offer. $5 a month is cheaper than most coffee at Starbucks nowadays. So support us, support what we do. Anyhow, I love all of you. I'm Lisa Haven signing out.